and welcome to our October Parent U from the Kennedale ISD Counseling Services Department. My name is Charity Simmons, and I'm the school counselor at Kennedale Junior High.
My name is Ms. Tovar. I am the Communities and School Social Worker at Kennedale Junior High.
And today we'll be talking with you about peer relationships, family relationships, bullying, teasing, and conflict, and how to resolve those as you work with your students.
We're going to be talking about family and peer relationships. It's important for families to be viewed as one unit versus individual elements. The reason why is because everyone is a contributing factor to a conflict, and everyone influences each other's behavior. One way that we can resolve family conflict is by taking a look at our own family patterns of behavior and then comparing that to multi-generational family patterns so that we can come up with new ways of problem solving. In terms of peer relationships are super important, especially for adolescents, but there's a difference between real friendships and then peer acceptance. So true friendships encompass factors like validation and support. Friendships also encourage one another to open up to each other, and they're more likely to want to resolve conflict. Versus peer acceptance is really focused on who likes me. So when students focus on peer acceptance, it can be detrimental to their sense of belonging. And then, really important regarding friendships is that we want to focus on quality over quantity. So even if you just have one good friend, that can really be helpful in terms of you feeling a sense of belonging. How can we improve family and peer relationships? And these methods can be used interchangeably, but be available. So even just taking 10 minutes out of our busy days to give the other person our undivided attention can really make a difference in the way we interact and in our communication skills. The other thing would be to be a good listener. When we listen, we really help the other person feel loved and understood. And when we don't understand something, it's okay to ask again and ask them to repeat what they're saying. Also, we don't have to agree with everyone's opinions in order to be a good listener. Something else we can do is show empathy. When we tune into each other's feelings, we let them know that we understand them, and it's really important not to minimize someone's feelings. So by saying, oh, that's silly that you feel that way, or you shouldn't feel that way, we take away from what their feelings are and really helping them feel validated. And lastly, we have to model that behavior by being a good role model. So our tone and the way we say things, we want to make sure that that's coming across the way we want it to come across. When we use words to express our feelings, we can teach other people to do the same.
Thank you, Ms. Tovar. Yes, and so in considering peer relationships, the hot topic word when there is an issue that arises is bullying. And so we want to dive a little bit deeper into what bullying is and then talk about how conflicts in relationships can be classified as something else that is not necessarily bullying every time. Bullying is ongoing, deliberate misuse of power between the same individuals. It is intentional actions that cause harm, and it is hard for an individual to stop on their own. What bullying is not is a single episode of a social rejection or dislike, a single act of nastiness or spite, a random act of aggression or intimidation, mutual arguments or disagreements, or single incidences or conflicts or fights between equals, people that are of the same age, height, in the same type of groups. So while these actions are hurtful and should be addressed, they are not considered bullying. So when we're looking at peer relationships, we have minimally 4 categories: teasing, conflict, a mean moment, and bullying. The big thing about bullying is that it is not something that happens between friends, someone that you do have a strong peer relationship with. Bullying happens between someone who is not your friend or your child's friend, someone who's not in their friend group, and someone who has targeted your child for a specific reason and is continually hurting your child or trying to harm your child. What we see more of the time are things like teasing, conflict, and mean moments. And when your child brings that information home to you, there is great concern, just as educators are concerned and want to ensure that all of our students have a safe learning environment. Initially, when you hear someone has hurt your child or your child's feelings, that target word of bullying does come up pretty quickly. But we find when we are investigating that there may be a peer relationship, and we need to consider, is it teasing, which is having fun between your friends, everybody's laughing. Teasing also occurs in family relationships between siblings and moms and dads, when we're joking about things and everyone is laughing and having fun. Sometimes there's a conflict, meaning you know of a person or an acquaintance, or it may be a friend, but you disagree about something, but there is a solution and you guys can come back together and mend that relationship through a circle or through peer mediation. And then a mean moment can happen in a family or a peer relationship when someone is hurt on purpose because of a disagreement or a conflict, and people go back and forth between each other, giving digs because they're hurting because of what you did, and vice versa. So that does happen when an isolated event that's very emotional happens between friends or family members. So as a school, when we are given reports of bullying or conflict, we have to address it with an open mind to determine if it is in fact bullying. And sometimes we do find that it is a mutual disagreement between friends, or that teasing gone too far or something like that. But we do take every case and review it very in detail, and interview witnesses and really talk about the relationship, if there was a previous relationship between the two individuals or not, to determine if it's bullying or if it's something that we can resolve because it's teasing, a conflict, or a mean moment. So we would like to provide you with just some questions that you can ask your child at home when they are saying someone has hurt them or harmed them. There's some questions that can be asked to kind of get more information, get just a little bit beyond the pain of what happened. And so some of those questions are, is this behavior reciprocated? Do both people look like they're having a good time? Is there something that was fun that was happening that went wrong? And then, has this happened before? And is there a power differential? With bullying, the power difference between the two individuals or all of the individuals involved is what will really determine that it is bullying, because there is an imbalance of power. So that's a very key part of when we are describing actions as bullying actions. I would also like to say that coming back to school at 100% with all of our students has been an adjustment for them. Being in full classes, being with people who have differing opinions than them, and having certain expectations on them within the classroom, it has been an adjustment for educators and for students alike. But we all want the same thing. We all want our students to come to a safe learning environment, and sometimes that means we have to push through and really talk about what we say, talk about how we're interacting with people that don't agree with us. And it takes time. So we appreciate your support in us taking that time to make sure that your child has a safe learning environment as well. And finally, some things that you can help us with as we are working with your students is just simply talking with your child about their peer relationships. Who are their friends? What are their friends like? What type of language do they use when you're not around? Just those type of things. Checking their phones, text messages, and social media accounts. We see a lot of language that we know students would not use if their parents were on their phones or a part of their social media accounts. So just checking on your kid and then reiterating to them what your expectation is, what's okay to say and not say in your home, and then always considering how our words impact others. And then encourage your child to report harmful behavior to trusted adults. Kids sometimes fear retaliation, but kids more so fear that they're going to be called a snitch or something like that. But if we don't know about it, we can't help, and we want to help. We want to know about it. So please encourage your child to speak up and say something if it's being done to them or someone else. If they see something, we want them to say something. And parents, you can speak up too. You can talk to us about it, send us an email, give us a call. We want to create that safe environment for you and your student. Also, you can report anonymously at Friends for Life. So your students have been given that information as well if they're worried about retaliation or something like that. And then we've included just a few websites here that have parent resources for you, so we hope that you will check those out. Thank you for viewing this edition of Parent You. Your school counselors are here to help you, so reach out if you need anything. Thank you.